recording now. Hopefully this works out well on here. Let
I
me
hope so.
let me check my audio a little bit. Bring my audio down. Bring yours back up a little bit. Yo guys, welcome to License to View. This is a
Yeah.
podcast. It's already recording, like I just said.
Hey, well, there you go.
This is a weekly pop culture podcast where two best friends get together and talk about pop culture, the internet, comic books, anime, movies, all that kind of bullshit. I am Jason. One of your co-hosts with me as always is my co-host Zach. What's going on, man?
No, not much, man. Just checking out a lot of nerdy shit, doing our due diligence, as they say.
Well, what have you been checking out, man? What you been up to? What you been watching, playing, reading, if anything?
So I had a couple of things that I checked out. So the biggest thing on my list was that I finally was able to catch the Joker movie
Oh, okay.
last weekend. Um, have you seen it yet?
No, I don't care. Talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. I overall enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's a bad movie at anything. I don't think it's like a masterpiece or anything like that. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it's probably one of, I mean, it's not a high bar to hit at this point, but I think it's probably one of the better DC movies. Um, I think it's up there with Wonder Woman. It might be a little bit better.
Right.
Um, but I mean, it's a solid movie overall. I like the messaging behind it. I mean, it was a lot about like mental health and stuff like that, and Phoenix knocks it out of the park just like we all thought he would. I mean, honestly, he carries the movie for the most part, and I mean, he should because there's not a single. It's like the same thing with Ad Astra. There's like not a single. I don't think there's a single scene in this movie that he's not involved in some way. So
What's up with this whole backlash against it? This whole like white male thing.
I don't know because honestly, it's like after watching the movie, people who had like those kind of concerns or people who like obviously had not watched the movie because there's nothing about like white privilege or anything like that. It's more about like classism than it is about like racial hierarchy or anything like that because it's much more about the fact that it's like I mean it's like Thomas Wayne's a fucking rich guy and he's running for mayor and he's like there's a point that and I mean that Phoenix's character the Joker is like a super low economic guy like he lives with his mom in like a rundown apartment building in like the fucking slums of Gotham. I mean, there's like a joke that it's like the rundown apartment building with like the shitty elevator that doesn't really work like it's supposed to, and all that other kind of shit. And there's one point where it's like after the first time he like kills people, when the, really like starts the plot of the whole movie was like Thomas Wayne was doing like an interview on TV, and it was very like a classist thing where he was like blaming it on the poor and calling the poor people clowns and stuff like that. And so it's like I don't get like the white privilege thing at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's much more of a left leaning movie than I think a lot of people.
Because
I
I
think
kept
a lot of people were
seeing
scared that it was going to be like a white like incel thing, and it's like not
right.
that at all.
I
It's
kept
that if you're
seeing
like a
stuff
fucking
about
moron and don't know what those terms are.
yeah, I kept seeing stuff about like how it's a the Joker's like some character where he starts killing people or something because he doesn't get
He
the
only kills
girl or
like he
something.
kills less than like five people in the whole movie. Like he really doesn't kill that much.
See, in my
They're fucking brutal
perspective,
kills, but they're not that many.
I kept seeing like people yeah these articles about how like yeah that the reactions with these guy about the Joker's some fantasy character like deity for these guys who are like nerdy who can't talk to chicks, and
Yeah,
that's the representation that they get, and they're oh this that's the backlash. But and
yeah,
again, I haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna talk for the movie. But my interpretation was like just from the trailer, I didn't get that vibe, and I don't
yeah,
think Joaquin Phoenix would pick the role if that's a very not complex character, and Joaquin
yeah.
Phoenix only plays generally speaking like complex characters generally at least in the
Yeah.
last decade,
I mean,
15 years.
definitely in the last like decade, he's definitely gone towards more roles where he actually has to like work and try to apply his craft, and he does an
Right.
amazing job. And I think the angle that he took for the Joker, and the angle that the script took was, I think, much more meaningful overall. I mean, it focuses a lot more just on like mental health in general and like how that kind of like structure, and not even just like mental health, but like the structure of like treating people with mental health, and like how often like those kind of like bureaucratic government structures and like the way that like a lot of people get healthcare, how that falls through, and how those people that fall through the cracks can like seriously like hurt themselves and others
Hmm.
when they're not treated. So
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty left leaning movie.
yeah, no, it's extremely
So
left leaning.
I'm not sure why like, these people are like talking so much trash about it.
People don't fucking watch the movie and they
Now,
fucking see
look,
that Joaquin
if it
Phoenix is a white guy and that's what they fucking take from
if it
it.
was a movie about Joker fans, then I would
Yeah,
say yeah, all
yeah,
day because Joker fans are
yeah,
absolutely that.
yeah. No,
Like the same
100%.
way that Harley Quinn fans are absolutely that.
Oh my God, I don't think we talked about this last week. Did we talk about that Harley Quinn trailer last week?
The Birds of Prey one.
Yeah, because I was just remembering it, and it's just like I was talking about it in my work this week, and I was like, honestly, if Joaquin Phoenix was in this movie, I probably wouldn't watch this movie because I feel like the Joker. I have the same feelings about the Joker as a character that I feel about Harley Quinn, which is I just don't give a
Oh
fuck,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I give even less of a fuck about Harley Quinn. Like just watching that Birds of Prey trailer, because it's really not a Birds of Prey trailer; it's a fucking Harley Quinn
Yeah.
movie trailer,
Well,
and
it's a
I
Harley
just
Quinn
don't.
movie.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that character. Like I just
It's just
don't
an
care.
excuse to put a bunch of chicks together that no one cares about, but then have Harley Quinn be in it.
I would have cared much more if it was just a Birds of Prey movie because I think all of those characters are much more interesting, like Black Canary and Huntress and all that shit. I care much
But
more
where
about
is
those
Oracle? Is
characters.
Oracle in it supposed to be in it?
No, Oracle's not even in it. I think it's literally just. I think it's got
Is
Montoya
she
from
not supposed
DCP.
to? Isn't she not? Isn't she a Birds of Prey?
I thought she was. She's like. I thought she was, or maybe it's more of like Batgirl in general, not like Barbara Gordon Batgirl, but the other one, the Asian
It says,
Batgirl.
it says it's a partnership between Black Canary and Barbara Gordon.
Yeah,
Is what
it
the team
starts
has
off as
made.
that, right?
That's what the team. That's what Wikipedia says.
I think in the movie it's a partnership between Black Canary,
Yeah,
and then
it's Oracle.
I think in the movie I think it's the Detective Montoya or whatever from the GCPD. I think it's her and Black Canary, and then Huntress, and yeah, I don't even think Oracle's in the movie because I don't think they mentioned Barbara Gordon at all.
I think so. Like this is gonna get a. This is all my shit's pretty much DC TV that I watched this
Yeah.
week, so I'll get to that when it's my turn. But
Okay.
and I've been reading some comics recently.
Yeah.
Um, I do not understand how we got here. I don't
Okay.
understand how we got to the point where we think that Birds of Prey is worth time, because
Yeah.
Suicide Squad was not worth time, and
Yeah.
Birds of Prey is this. To me,
It looks like the same movie.
everyone's trying to get the. In granted, yes, James Gunn is doing Suicide Squad too. I understand that, but
Yeah.
everybody is trying to hit the gold mine in the rough that is, which is
The
not the right
Avengers.
analogy. No, not
Yeah.
not no. It's not freaking. It's not fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. Like
Oh yeah.
everyone keeps like DC wants to take this obscure team and just like hope that people dig it,
Yeah.
and people might dig it, but
Yeah.
I don't think they will because no one has any idea who these characters are. And yes, people didn't know who fucking Drax was and all that kind of shit. But when you have these actors and actresses who are good,
Yeah.
then Dave Bautista
I
was
think that's the
good,
biggest
and
problem because at
you
least
know,
going into at least going to Guardian of the Galaxy, you had Chris Pratt and you had
mhm.
Batista that everybody knows, even if they didn't think he was like that good of
Well,
an actor. They
that
knew
team,
him.
that's a stacked team of actors.
Yeah,
Even if you take away Drax, you have Zoe Saldana, and you have
yeah,
Bradley Cooper, and you have Vin Diesel and Chris Pratt. That's a stacked team already.
yeah. I mean, in Birds of Prey, all you really have is you have Ewan McGregor as the bad guy, but he's not part of the team. So after this movie, he's not going to be able to carry this forward.
Right.
And then you've got Harley Quinn. That's it. Because I don't know any of the other actresses in this movie,
And you factor in the fact that
or at
you
least they
factor
they
in
weren't
the
featured
fact
in the trailer enough for me to know who they are.
right, and you add in the fact that it's a rough trailer. Like it looks
Yeah.
bad. It's a very bad trailer, and I think that my dogs are being
Well,
annoying.
it's the same. It gives me the same feelings of when we were. I mean, it's just. I feel like it's just going to be another Suicide Squad because that trailer is even giving me the same feelings as
Oh
when.
yeah,
Not the last, because those last couple of Suicide Squad trailers, you could tell that they were like remixing them to make them look good. But those first few were like fucking rough, and this
right.
looks like one of those early Suicide Squad trailers that was just like a fucking rough movie.
I feel like too. We're gonna have a big problem with dude like the the fervor and love that is innately built around the Joker. And I've
Yeah.
said this for years.
Hmm.
For years, I cannot stand the Joker. I think the Joker is Batman's worst rogue. I think he's the
I'm
worst
excited
one.
that he's not in this Batman movie with Matt
Yeah,
Reeves.
I think he is the worst rogue in Batman's gallery. And I know people that's blasphemy, but I think they're infinitely better. Like
I don't know if
people,
he's the worst rogue, but I definitely think he's the most played out. Like I just don't
I
know what
think
else to
that
do with.
when you fact everyone's mind goes directly to Heath Ledger,
Yeah.
and they all go to the whole idea that he's just some anarchist who wants to watch the world burn, and that's his whole reasoning for being a bad guy. And I
Hmm.
look at that as that's just a lack of the ability to write. That's how
Yeah.
I look at that. That's how I perceive that. And now
Hmm.
Christopher Nolan's a great writer, can write that and make it very well. But when you take it to the comic book world, and these writers who are not Christopher Nolan try to write the Joker, you
Yeah.
know, and I like Scott Snyder. Generally speaking, I think he can write horror very well. But when he
Yeah.
wrote Joker, I go, I don't care for your Joker story. I liked, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't care for Scott Snyder's run. That's 8 years.
I like the. I don't like. I liked. I don't. I didn't read all of his run, but I remember that I specifically liked. I liked his Year Zero arc. His Batman origin I thought was interesting, specifically because it put him against a villain that I think normally people don't associate with his origin, which is he went up against the Riddler, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big thing in Year Zero, and then I liked the Court of Owls arc. I think
I
that's a
think
decent
Court of
arc.
Owls was cool in theory, but I think it really fell off. I think it
Mm,
could have been so much cooler than it was. And I always say this about Scott Snyder's work is that I think that he look I like I he his best Batman run to me is pre 52
yeah.
freaking Gordon Jr. stuff. Like that
Hmm.
is well, I think Dick was still Batman at the time. I think
Yeah.
that's such a great horror homicide detective noir seven type of story.
Hmm.
And so, but I think that my point is that when people write Joker in the comic book world, they take the Heath Ledger version of it and just
Hmm.
make him anarchist, watch the world burn money, whatever the fuck kind of mentality, and that's
Hmm.
not compelling to me. That
Right.
just means that you can't write a motivation.
Right.
The best bad guys are guys who don't think they're bad, right? That's why Magneto is so good because Magneto's not a bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
if you think Magneto's a bad guy, then you're stupid. You see the world in black and white.
Yeah.
Magneto is a good guy who does bad things because he's fucking mutant and he was also in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That's a great bad guy. But the Joker is just a bad guy because he wants to beat Batman up. That's like
Yeah.
boils the character down to boring. And Harley Quinn is just that. Harley Quinn is the exact same character.
Well, Harley Quinn's even less than that because she didn't even care about Batman really.
She
I
just
don't even
loves
know like
Joker.
what the point of her character is.
She
Yeah.
just
And
wants to
now in
be the
this movie she
Joker.
doesn't even have that. So like, what the fuck is her character?
Yeah, she just wants to be the Joker. So when the Joker fucking abandons her, she like cracks even more and wants to be alone or whatever
Yeah.
it is. And look, maybe I'm just missing the mark on that character. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean,
Uh,
one of our friends has the Joker
yes.
tattoo, and I think it's a great tattoo. But I think the Joker
It's
is
it
the
is a pretty
stupidest
sick
character.
tattoo.
I would
Yeah.
rather see. I think Penguin's a better bad guy. Riddler's a better bad guy. And
I
not
think
even
honestly for him, especially if you're going off of, I mean, you've got the Long Halloween, which is like
right.
the best. But then I think a great thing is I think an underutilized Batman villain, which is I'm mad they're using him in Birds of Prey, but I think the Black Mask is a great
Sure.
Batman villain. I think organized crime is like awesome, and I think that's one of the best part. I thought that was the more interesting parts about specifically the Dark Knight. What was it? Batman Begins.
Hmm.
When it was actually basically about him taking on the Falcone family and all that stuff
Right.
until like the last like 30 minutes of the movie.
Well, if you factor in the fact that the I keep saying factor in the fact, but if you look at Batman's history, it's Gotham's run by mobs,
Yeah.
right? His first bad guys in year one are the
Hmm.
mafia.
Yeah.
Dirty cops who work for the mafia. That's like one, and then the ninjas come in later, and then the scarecrow gas mask man comes in later. But
Yeah.
his initial fight is people always forget that Batman is a street hero. He is
He's supposed to
not.
be a street. He's like Spider-Man. He's street
He's
level
Daredevil.
superhero. Yeah.
He is not supposed to be out there with
He's definitely not
Superman.
supposed to be tangling. Yeah, he's definitely not supposed to be tangling with fucking Superman.
I saw a posting because Tom King is currently writing Batman, and from I haven't read all of the runs. Well, it's supposed to be 100 issues. I think he's on 80. I
Okay.
think he's on 80 something. I think they announced a while back they're canceling his run. Like not canceling, but they're ending it not before 100. But they're
Right.
it's also bi-weekly, so that's why it's like double the time, right?
Okay.
And Tom King writes just sad characters. Like he
Yeah.
writes them like they're just boohoo people.
He's been the one that's writing this the joke or the Batman Catwoman getting married, right?
He wrote
was
that,
him, right?
yes. He wrote that. But
Yeah.
you know how that ended?
No, because I stopped reading like right when they were like, I think this was,
She
like
left
right
him
when
on
they
the
got
altar.
married. I like stopped reading.
She
The what?
left him at the altar
That's the fucking shittiest thing I've ever
because
heard.
Bruce Wayne's life can never be happy. because
Apparently,
Tom King's life can't be happy. So like he just writes these. He wrote the Mr. Miracle, like a miniseries, like last year, 2 years ago.
I did love that Mr. Miracle series.
Look,
I didn't finish it,
I
but I was
think
reading it and I really loved that
I
series.
finished it, but it's the same thing. It's just like
Mm,
introspective sadness, metaphysical, and that's fine for like he wrote Vision too, which is fine for
yeah,
Vision. It's fine for Mr. Miracle. I get that. Batman is a hero. Batman
yeah,
is a self-confident, mature, masculine and identity character. So
yeah,
to kick Batman while he's down constantly and for to show Batman being like boo hoo hoo,
yeah.
oh woe is me,
Did
fuck
Damien fucking
off.
die again?
I don't know. I read bits and pieces of his arc because I watch a lot of comic book reviews
Mm,
that will flip through the book and show these things and tell the story, and then I've read some of the arcs, and it just turns me off so bad. And also reading his other work
mm-hmm.
makes me not want to read. Like again, I liked Mister Miracle for what it was. I think it fit that character pretty well. It's a
Yeah,
super introspective character story for that character, but that's not Batman. I don't want
yeah,
that for Batman. Batman is listen. I push away the pain. I push away the sadness because my city needs me and justice has to be done. That's Batman.
right.
Batman isn't. I get left at the altar and I go home to my Batcave and cry to Alfred, which I don't know if he did that in the story, but that's what it sounds like from people
I mean,
talking.
at this point, it probably sounds like that's what happened after he got left at the altar. He probably had a good old cry.
So the idea that the idea that the Joker is like, and that's because I think Joker fanboys who really enjoy that character, I don't know why tend to be that incel kind of beta kind of personality type. I don't know why they go to that. Maybe because
No,
I don't know, he's hot topic. I don't know, but
I feel like it's definitely a hot topic thing.
so how'd you feel about so overall?
But overall, in the film, I mean, I definitely recommend people to go see it. I think it's a decent watch. I think it's a rewatchable movie for sure. I could see myself watching it over again, and I think Todd Phillips did a really solid job of making this movie, and it looks fucking fantastic. I mean, the cinematography on it, it's fucking dirty and grimy, like exactly how you would expect, like fucking like Joker's Gotham to look like through his eyes. It's very gross and disgusting. So yeah,
Okay,
no,
cool.
I definitely recommend watching it.
Well, at some point I'll check it out. But what you got next? Do you anything else?
Yeah, so I did a couple other things. So I started watching some stuff on Amazon Prime because anime season just started.
Right.
So Amazon Prime has a new anime, Blade of the Immortal, that they have running on. So they have that in Vinland Saga. They've about 3 episodes in. I've only watched about two, but it's really fucking solid. I'm liking it so far.
Of which one are you watching?
Blade of the Immortal. Its
It's
basic
new.
story is it's yeah, it just came out like 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks
It took
ago.
them that long to make it.
Yeah,
I thought they already had anime ready for it.
they might have been had an old one, but this is a whole new adaptation.
Okay. All right.
I know
All
there's like a
right.
live action Blade of the Immortal movie, but yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, so they've got that going on right now. I mean, for those of you who don't know, basic plot is guy is immortal until he kills 100 evil people, and he's traveling around this girl who's looking
I
for
thought it was
revenge for her
anime.
parents who were killed. So it's anime as fuck, but I'm liking it so far, and it's very, I mean, it's beautiful. It looks great, and it's very action heavy, gory, all that shit. Good historical samurai type stuff.
Have they explained yet why he's immortal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically it was
Just
he
the
got cur
worms. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. What happens like the first episode? You talk about the
Okay.
bloodworms.
Because I
The fact
remember I
that
read some of the manga a long time ago and I hated the art style. And then
yeah.
I watched the live action movie because it was Takeshi Miike's 100th film and it was pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, I prefer Vagabond more,
I want to start reading that
which is from
because
the
I've heard
guy
that
who
that's really
did
good.
the guy who made Slam Dunk made
Yeah.
Vagabond.
Hmm.
I think his art style is just infinitely better.
Yeah.
Um, but people love Blade of the Immortal. I don't think it's bad. I'd check
Yeah.
it out if it's done.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, it's not done yet. I think it's 24 episodes, so it'll probably be like
Oh
a couple
damn.
more
Okay.
months till it's done.
Okay.
But it's pretty solid so far. I'm definitely gonna keep watching it.
Okay. Cool.
Um, so yeah, I've got that, and then I started the last thing that I really checked out a lot because I didn't really have time to play any games. Was that I started watching or I started reading this manga called Chainsaw Man.
Oof.
That's fucking dope. It's great. So the basic premise, I'm only about 4 chapters in, but the basic premise is It's a world where there's devils, there's devil hunters. Basic premise that you've heard before. Whole thing is that the guy he ends up becoming a devil hunter by getting caught in a crossfire between the mobs and stuff like that. And he had a pet demon that turned into a chainsaw, but the mafia betrayed him, and so basically, the devil pet of his becomes like his artificial heart. So he pulls on this lawnmower type string like in his chest, and he like gets like fucking chainsaw arms, and he has like a sick chainsaw head. It looks metal as fuck if you can look it up. It looks super sick. So I'm definitely gonna keep reading that. But that's one of the other big things that I'm checking out. So starting a bunch of
What's up
stuff.
with you and stuff that has like objects for heads?
I don't know, dude.
First, you
What was
mentioned
the other thing? Oh yeah, the
the
no
gun
gun laws.
guy, the gun head
Yeah,
from last week.
the gun head. The gun head is it's pretty solid, dude. I still think you need to check it out. I haven't watched episode 2 yet because it just came out like last night, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I'm probably gonna watch it today. But I don't know, dude. Guns for head, objects for heads look sometimes they look sick. I mean, he's got a chainsaw for a head. That's pretty dope. So
I'm looking at it right now. Hold on.
oh yeah, the art
Oh,
the art
it's
style.
a Shonen Jump manga too.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
a big it's one of the bigger shonen series. I'm pretty sure
Okay.
right now.
I'm going to a random scanlation chapter. Sorry, guys, it's illegal. Art style looks pretty cool. I'm trying to find chainsaw action.
Well, the first thing I should he's got the cover. One of the covers is like him with his arms and his head. It looks pretty sick. I'm trying to look.
All right, that's fine. I'll figure it out. It looks cool though. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think I'm more a fan of the gun guy though.
Yeah, I mean the gun guy is definitely more interesting in me, and I think I definitely know that I like that series more just because it's more of a, especially with that character, it's just a more of a noir detective type of setting and world. It's still got action in it, but it's definitely it's like a Batman type of what's the thing I'm looking for? Not theme, but just a kind of general arc where it's just like there's
Right.
detective stuff in it, but it's also got action. So it's like I feel like with the Gunhead, that's definitely closer to my speed as far as those kinds of stories go.
Okay. I feel you.
Yeah, those are the basic things that I was checking out this week.
Sweet. Well, I'll run through mine real quick.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I was on YouTube and I saw that this next season of Arrow is the final season.
Okay.
So I kept watching like these like related. I would watch a YouTube clip of an Arrow scene that I haven't seen before because I only watched the
Hmm.
first two or three seasons,
Yeah.
and then I would watch a related video clip and it was like a Flash scene or whatever. So I watched like the crossover episodes. So with the
Hmm.
Netflix, like you know what? Let me watch the Flash because I
Yeah.
only watched the first season. I'll check it out and maybe I'll watch some Arrow stuff because Arrow's ending. I ended up
Hmm.
watch. I started at season two because I've seen the first season. So I started at season two and I'm all the way done now, up to date.
Yeah. Okay.
I watched three
Nice.
seasons. I watched two, three, four, five seasons of the Flash
I
in
think
the
I
last
stopped on
week.
season 3. I think whatever season had the Black Rider or where his daughter's introduced at the end.
Right.
I don't remember what season that was. I think
That's
it was
four.
3. That's 4? Okay, then
Yeah.
I got all the way up to 4. It was like the season finale is like, I'm your daughter. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind
And
of
all I
okay.
did was I watched a lot of episodes, but I also skipped a lot and like
Okay.
speed watched. Like if the episode was clearly a filler episode,
Yeah.
then I didn't care. I would skip through it until the
Well,
parts
that's the
that
thing with the
mattered.
CW thing is like half those and especially with like the Flash and I don't know so much about like I can't remember that much with the Arrow, but definitely with the Flash was like yeah, it's like half the episodes are like fucking filler episodes where like nothing happens.
Exactly, or I would find like if episode I didn't care about I would find one story in an episode that I cared about. Like,
Yeah.
I love Ralph in The Flash, Elongated
Yeah.
Man. I think that's
Yeah.
the best thing that
Oh, okay.
happened.
I haven't watched that yet. I haven't got to
See, that's
Elongated
season
Man yet.
four. That's season
Yeah, I
four.
think that's then I stopped at season 3 because I think I
Okay.
stopped the season before he was introduced.
Yeah. So he comes to season four. He's Elongated Man, which is not. I'm not familiar with that character. I
Yeah.
know other stretchy people characters,
Yeah.
Plastic Man or whatever, stuff like that.
Hmm.
But he's a former cop who gets kicked off the force because of Barry, so he's a private eye now. And he's like super duper like misogynistic and like goofy and
Oh, okay.
airheaded, but he's a good detective. And he's like the comic relief of the show more so
Yeah.
than anything now. And I think he's such a great addition to the show. I think people really don't like him because he's misogynistic or whatever, but I think he's
Hmm.
really really funny. And been a great addition to the show. Um,
Whatever happened to Draco Malfoy?
he leaves after season 3.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, because at the end of season 3, Barry goes into the time force, into the
Yeah,
Speed Force.
right.
So he leaves during that summer or whatever the fuck happens, and
Okay.
then when Barry reemerges from the Speed Force, the energy of the Speed Force hits a bus that is near his exit hole, and then
Hmm.
those people become meta humans, and that's where Ralph's on the bus.
Oh,
And the whole season
okay.
is like there's some guy, some mastermind trying to, who purposefully made these metahumans. He wants them for some reason, and he's trying to hunt them down after he makes them. I forget why.
Always, it's. I feel like every season, it's like some other accident happens where more metahumans are created.
Pretty much every
Yeah,
season they do something that makes metahumans.
yeah.
But this last season I finished it this morning. Is when the season of his daughter and his daughter. Do you care if I spoil this?
I really don't. I'll probably be a couple more months at least until I start watching it.
His daughter at the end of the season, his daughter gets erased from time
Oh,
because
okay.
they do something to save. Reverse Flash comes back and then they have to do something and she gets erased from time or whatever.
Mm,
Sacrifices herself or some shit.
yeah,
Um, it's fine. It's CW. It's not like
yeah,
great. It's not the best thing of all time. It's
right.
the thing that makes that show so enjoyable isn't even the stuff because the superhero stuff looks like crap. The CG looks bad. The acting is whatever. The action is
Yeah,
terrible. What makes that show enjoyable is really the interpersonal relationship between the Flash team, and that's
yeah,
really all I care about. It's not even the fact that the Flash is there because he's not really doing what the Flash does in the comic book stuff. I mean, he just
yeah.
now got the ring, the suit in it. Um,
Seriously?
yeah, and every fight is the same fight. They do some runs, spin around, do a tornado, do a lightning throw. It's all the same shit
Yeah.
every fight. They've reused animations a lot too, so it's not like necessarily the greatest thing.
I know Killer
But
Frost is like a good person now, right? Because it's
you,
fucking what's her face?
well, yeah, because she's actually that's not even she's a metahuman too or something
Yeah.
like that. Her dad's a metahuman, and yeah, I really the driving force now for me to watch the show next season when it finishes up and goes on Netflix is just to see what happens with Ralph and what
Yeah.
happens with like I mean the time travel. See that's the thing about Arrow. I watched the first 3 seasons of Arrow, and when you talked about it back 5 years ago, you did a weekly update on both of them,
Oh yeah, I
like
do
four
remember
years
when I was
ago.
catching up
Yeah,
to those. Yeah.
you would do weekly live episode recaps,
Yeah.
and not live, but the day after or whatever.
Yeah.
Arrow to me got so boring in terms of like because when I stopped watching it, there was no
I feel
magic.
like Arrow was definitely boring after season. What Deathstroke season was like the best season as far as when I
I
started
don't even
watching
know.
it.
Was that 4 or something or 3 or
I think that
4?
was two. It was like it was fucking
Okay.
that Deathstroke shit was early and it was good too, but it was so early.
Then maybe I only watched season 1 because I don't remember
I
Deathstroke.
remember season three was bad because that was the Ra's al Ghul season, and I did
Mm.
not like that season at all.
So all I remember watching was like I remember watching the first season and really liking it, and then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is kind of boring. But with the
Yeah,
Flash, since they have so much time travel
yeah,
that they can like, it's always interesting. And they have Cisco gets the abilities to jump to different dimensions.
yeah. He becomes Vibe, right?
So they're constantly jumping
Yeah.
different dimensions, and they're doing a thing where they constantly bring in different Harrison Wells from different Earths, and
Okay.
they're all different. So they had after Harrison Wells in the first season is actually Thawne, like the bad like Reverse
Right.
Flash. They kill him. They get a Harrison Wells from a different universe, Earth Two, who's like a serious doctor, like and like he's like him with his daughter. His daughter becomes a speedster. They send him back to his Earth. Eventually, they get a different Harrison Wells whose name's HR, and he's not even a
Mm.
scientist. Actually, he's actually just like a fucking like actor, writer,
Yeah.
trying to write a book, whatever. And he's really funny. They send him back, and they get Sherlock, which is
They get Sherlock.
Harrison Sherlock Wells, who's a master detective, and it's
Okay.
like him and Ralph are out there doing detective stuff, and they're going back. So it's like Ralph is a really good staple for me. And then whatever version of Harrison Wells comes back is always interesting to me. They like
Okay.
I know I was watching the first episode of season 6 on the CW app, and
Yeah.
they show or the trailer and they showed the new Harrison Wells. I guess the action adventurer version. So like
Okay.
those are the two things that make me interested in the show because they like Sherlock is a French guy,
Yeah.
right? So like they have different personalities, and the guy who's acting that I don't know his name.
I don't know, but
Um,
I imagine, yeah, he's doing some serious
he's
work.
doing like the most work of anyone. He's literally a new character every season.
Yeah.
And then not only is he doing new characters, but they're flashing back to to Thawne like in the future. So he's playing that version. They'll have
Hmm.
episodes where other Harrison Wells will come through the gate, and then they'll talk to the others. So he's doing the most work.
Yeah.
Like the Flash is doing some work, but then this dude's doing the most work. So I enjoyed it for what it was. It's nothing to write to mom about, but it's fine.
Yeah.
The other thing I watched, I finished the first season that just ended last week of the HBO's new Danny McBride show called The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh yeah, I wanted to check that out. Did you like it?
It is fucking amazing. It
Okay,
is
I'll definitely have to check it
amazing.
out.
It is so fucking funny, especially someone like my girlfriend and I who are
It's
uh,
Eastbound and Down Riders, right?
yeah, Eastbound and Down, the guy who created Eastbound and
Yeah.
Down, the guy who created Vice Principals. And
Hmm.
since it's about a family of televangelists who are rich and they're not really good Christians and they get into bad stuff, and it's a long full season story which is really well told. It's
Hmm.
a lot of like really great connective pieces between each little arc or whatever.
Hmm.
But it's for my girlfriend and I who are pretty Christian people. We can find it's even funnier to us because we know like the Joel Osteens and like the
Yeah.
people like that who this is replicating. But even better, and when the in the first season, the first episode, there's a scene that happens. It's not a spoiler, where they're in a parking lot and they run over somebody with a car.
Jesus.
The parking lot's down the road from my house because the show is
Oh yeah, they
the
filmed
show's
in
filmed in
Charleston. Yeah.
Charleston, right? Because they filmed
Yeah.
Vice Principals in Charleston, so Danny McBride came back and shot this here.
Oh,
So
okay.
the Ravenels there. They go to Piggly Wiggly's. Their church is the Coliseum in Charleston.
Oh, that's funny.
So they have shots of the outside. It's the Coliseum.
That's awesome.
They walk through the Pack Center. Like so, it's like for someone who's local, it's even better. Cause I'm like, yo, I know that, I know that one.
Yeah.
They have their weekly like Sunday lunches. It's Liberty
Hmm.
Tap Room in Mount
Oh
Pleasant.
shit,
It's like
dude, I love that. That's awesome.
it's like if you're from here, you just point up, got it. So it was funny. It was a fun
That's
game
awesome.
in an extra addition while watching the show. So, but besides that fact, it's really funny. It's
Hmm.
well written. It's really well acted, and I'm excited for next season. So,
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking of on the DC stuff. So you watch Arrow and Flash,
I just
or
watched
did you?
Flash.
Okay, you just watched
Just
Flash.
Flash for now. Yeah.
I was about to say because it was like they were the other one that interested me because I watched episode one of Supergirl and it was fine, and then I started watching episode two, and they did a episode about. I think they tackled like gun rights and immigration in the same episode, and I was like, I'm done with this show, so I stopped watching that. But the only other one that was interesting me was fuck, what was it? It was the team up show that they have.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. I
Yeah.
feel like that I've heard a lot of good things about that show and like the characters in it and stuff like that. And it's got fucking what's her face from Arrow is like the team
White
leader and
Canary.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So I was
Wally,
interested in checking that out eventually.
I know Wally leaves the Flash team to go to Legends of Tomorrow.
Right.
Firestorm's in that, but he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the guys dies. I haven't watched this. It's just from clips that I've seen.
Yeah.
Snart is in
And
it,
I
but
know
then he dies.
Constantine's in. I don't know if he's still in there, but
I
Constantine was
think he's
there.
only in for a couple episodes here and there.
That's unfortunate.
But
'Cause
then whenever they do I watched Constantine clips of it. Again, I haven't seen the show. I'm just
Yeah.
from YouTube clips, and I had to watch a couple episodes because they did like crossover episodes where they do 1 hour in the Flash. The next
Right.
part would be Arrow. The next part is in Supergirl. The next part's in Legends. So I would have to go on Netflix to the other shows to.
Yeah. That's what I did when
That's
I
all
was
I've done.
watching when I was catching up with Flash. I did the same thing for whatever that season three crossover was. I don't even remember what it was, but I think it was the first one where they did a crossover with Supergirl.
Yeah, it was a Supergirl.
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, so it was like I think it started with Supergirl and then you had to watch the Flash and then the Arrow and then Legends of Tomorrow. So it was like that was the only time I really dipped into Legends of
Right.
Tomorrow, but yeah.
But that's all I've been watching. So if you're ready to go into the next thing,
Yeah, for sure, dude.
cool.
Yeah, let's go to the next thing.
Guys, we are going to skip our news this week and go straight into our main topic of the show, which is our
Yes.
goal, our journey, our mission, our quest, our plan to review every Star Wars movie leading up to Rise of Skywalker in December, I think December 20th.
Yes.
Last week we did episode 1, Phantom Menace. This week we are doing episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
And we start Now, Zach, what is the story to this fucking movie?
All right. Well, that's a good question,
Can you
Jason.
tell me the story to this movie?
I will do my best to attempt to tell you the story to this movie. So the story, as I understand it, is that we start off in Coruscant as apparently there's now the Trade Federation's tax dispute has now evolved into a full blown separatist movement in the Senate, and now a bunch of planets are planning to leave the Republic. And apparently, Senator Amidala, because now she's a senator, because apparently the queendom on Naboo is like the presidency and not like a queendom, which makes no sense. But so apparently she's now a senator. She's trying to stop. I think she's either trying to stop or she's trying to start the creation of a republic army or something like that to like fight the separatists. And basically the whole thing is that she's trying to be assassinated. That's the main crux of it, is because whatever side of the opinion she's on, they don't want her side to be heard, so they're trying to assassinate her. And so that's what brings in back in Obi-Wan and Anakin, Anakin is now a full-blown Padawan who is 10 years older, because apparently this whole movie takes a 10-year time skip.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the whole thing is the whole movie is them trying to figure out who's trying to assassinate Padme, and Anakin's trying to protect her. Obi-Wan's trying to figure it out. They end up going to Kamino, where there's this clone army, as Obi-Wan's trying to track down who's trying to kill her. He finds out that there's this planet Kamino, where there's this whole clone army that was commissioned by a master, Sifo-Dyas, I believe is his name, which is really fucking on the nose. um, and so that all happens. He meets Jango Fett. They have a battle, and then they end up on Genosha, I believe, where everybody gets captured, and they're in a coliseum. And then the Jedi showed up, and then the clone army gets introduced. That's basically the whole crux of the story. Oh, and there's a Count Dooku.
There's Count Dooku that dies. Right?
Yes,
Next to that next movie.
that's next movie. He didn't die.
We get to see Yoda fight. We get to see Padme in the best outfit.
That's true. She has a great outfit in this one.
And okay, so I asked you to do that for me because
This story is nonsensical.
I watched as a kid. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. It was just It was just scenes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck's going on. There's some bus scene, I think, where like Obi-Wan's on a bus or something, or like a diner.
He's in the diner. Yeah.
What the so okay. I said this last week.
Nonsensical character. Yes. No. Say what you're gonna say.
I'll say this last week, but I'll say it again.
Yeah.
The story sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But the world building.
The world building is
pretty good.
The story sucks. I was thinking about that while watching this movie. It's not bad, but it's not varied enough for me, because when I was thinking of overarching world building, there's not a whole lot of stuff, because the only real new planet is, well, they've got Genosha, which there's nothing to that really, except that the separatists are meeting there. We have no really other backstory about that planet, and it's a giant factory apparently. And then we have Kamino, which is the clone planet, which was cool to see. Cool to see the clone army and stuff like that. But those are really the only new things.
Well, I look at it in terms of like we see more from just Coruscant alone.
I think that's the biggest thing, because there's really not that much that happens in Naboo besides the fact that we learn that the queendom is like the presidency for an unknown reason. The queendom is like a presidency. That's the biggest piece of world building we have for Naboo. But the big stuff is definitely on Coruscant. We see a lot more of the Senate, and how the Senate works, and the Republic and all that kind of stuff with Palpatine and his Supreme Chancellorship. But we see a lot more of, specifically of like nightlife in Coruscant, especially the whole chase scene at the beginning, and they're in the club, which is the club looks a lot just like Mos Eisley, except
exactly.
much more neon. But I imagine, I don't know how much different I was expecting it to be, because it's the same thing. It's like if you go to a fucking bar in Atlanta, it's going to be the same as a bar in New York for the most part. It's not going to be much different. A bar's a bar, so.
No, my big thing with this movie, besides being, I think it's the longest one.
It is, and I found it incredibly annoying.
It feels.
It feels like the longest one.
Yeah, you feel it.
And there's really not much. It made me mad because it's the longest movie, and it's the one where the least stuff happens in it to me, story-wise. really this movie doesn't mean anything to me until like the last 30 minutes.
Oh, right.
Because then you get all of the Jedi showing up, which is fucking sick when they all show up in the Coliseum. It's awesome. When they all get like reveal themselves in the crowd and they start popping up their lightsabers, that's sick. And then you see the clone army, which is awesome. So those are like the two best parts of the whole movie. Everything else besides that was kind of, and you get Jango Fett. I love Jango Fett.
Yeah, but he
as a character.
dies.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I mean, he still did more than Boba Fett in his two. Boba Fett was in two movies, and Django still did more than he did.
I don't think. I mean, I think Boba Fett had a cooler scene in Cloud City, though.
Eh,
That's a
really
cool scene.
I don't know. I really don't remember him doing that much in Cloud
No,
City.
he just stood there, but it was cool.
Yeah, he just stood there.
But it was cool.
I mean, I don't know. You got the Django scene made me much more hyped for the Mandalorian because they portrayed Django much more as like a bounty hunter cowboy. Especially he has that scene where he like flicks the gun like a cowboy, and he definitely set up that whole I vision of like Mandalorians being like the cowboys of the fucking Star Wars universe.
Right.
I definitely think he set that precedence up. Because really, Boba Fett, there's nothing of his character that would make you think that he's like a cowboy. I feel like all of the stuff for the Mandalorian, that's all based on what Django set up.
Well, I think it's based on fucking books that they don't consider
That's
the universe anymore.
As far as movies, I think it's all
Right.
based on what Django set
Because
up.
when I rewatched this movie, because I've seen it a lot of times at this point in my life.
I hadn't seen it. I definitely haven't seen this as much as the Phantom Menace. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Because I definitely agree. I feel like people really give Hayden Christensen a lot of backlash.
Well, I can talk about that too.
And
I
look,
did not like him in this movie.
Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. I don't like him either. What's he gonna do with that script?
Yeah, I mean,
What's he gonna do with that?
It's not all his fault, but I also just think he has terrible chemistry with fucking Natalie Portman. I think it's awful. So,
well, no,
I mean,
to me, I perceived it as not bad chemistry, just fucking awkward. To me, it felt like it was like
incredibly awkward.
For me, it felt like it was like it was that
like watching that scene before they go out in the Coliseum, and she's like finally confessing her love to him, and I was like, this should be really impactful. I don't feel anything though.
For me, I always felt like it was a thing where that one person is just really attached to a girl, but the girl doesn't care. The girl doesn't feel that way.
This is more of an incel character than the fucking Joker. He is pressing himself upon her, and like the way he stares at her is so fucking weird. When he like first sees her and she's like packing up her shit, and she's like, "Don't stare at me like that. You make me uncomfortable." And I was like, "Yeah, you're making me uncomfortable."
But even the scene in the elevator the elevator going up there, where he's talking to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like giving him a heart, like ribbing him about like whatever. Yeah. And he's like, "I know, Master. That was a long time ago." Or the fuck, I'm like, dude, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like. I honestly just don't feel like I don't like the way that they wrote his character. He's just very much an impetuous child, and that was very annoying to watch. Yeah,
the character is bad, and that's
the problem. I get it. They're trying to set up like super hard that like he's got all these like different emotional problems, and that's what's going to lead him to turn the dark side and blah 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 and all that shit. And I was like, yeah, I get that, but there's a way to write that where it's like I don't fucking hate your character.
You could just write it to where, like I said last week, to where he wants more power for the sake of power.
And they set that up a lot. Well, I don't know. They didn't really. I mean, they kind of did with like his mother dying.
Like
that was
the idea.
That was the start of. Yeah.
The idea of him
like, power for.
Right. Well, the idea of him wanting power to save Padme. I like that idea.
Yeah.
But the execution is so wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting setup with all the stuff that happens with his mom, and like the fact that he was like, even then he has that inkling of he wants to be able to defeat death. I like that setup going into him finally betraying himself to try to save Padme. It makes sense. He's especially having to deal with that loss before. He doesn't have to deal with it again. And it also feeds into the fact that Jedi aren't supposed to have these kind of fucking relationships.
Right.
But I mean, you've read more of the extended canon than I have, but like Luke has a wife and he has kids and he doesn't act like that, so I don't understand.
So, for the people who don't know, in the Legends EU, which to me is still
I still consider a lot of that stuff.
That's Star Wars.
They keep bringing in a lot of that shit anyways.
Oh
so.
yeah, they could, because it's good shit. There's good shit in there. Now there's some bad shit in there, but there's some great stuff.
Yeah.
When Luke makes the new Jedi Order, he removes that ban and
Yeah.
allows he thinks that because people can love and still be able to be good Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, it just before this point, it just seems like Jedi are supposed to be fucking robots, which
Well, because
is
they're monks.
uninteresting.
They're
Yeah,
supposed to be monk. They're supposed to be priests. They're
yeah,
space priests. That's the whole point.
that's
You know,
true.
you let nothing interfere with what you're supposed to be about you and the Force.
Yeah,
That's the bond. You and the Force, because outside things can alter that relationship, and you can start pulling from the Force in negative ways, like a
mm,
Sith does. Sith pulls.
yeah,
The Sith uses the Force, right? The Jedi doesn't use the Force.
right.
The Jedi coexists with the Force, right?
Hmm.
So the idea that like I like the idea where they set Anakin up to fall. I like the
Yeah,
idea, and and George Lucas puts it in a good direction, but the execution, whether it's the actual filming and editing of the scenes, the
hmm,
writing, or the acting, somewhere all of those just tumble on each other because they could made it really good.
yeah. I think this could have been a good movie, but I think overall, I mean, especially it's like I was looking at it was another indication of how much I was bored and how much this dragged on. There was many indications where I was looking at the clock to see how
Yeah.
long was left in this godforsaken
Well, by
movie.
the time you get to fucking Camino, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, it's like they fucking don't even Anakin and Padme aren't even alone until like fucking 45 minutes into the fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it just takes too long. And I get setting stuff up, but like I also just feel like you set up so much unnecessary shit that like didn't
Right.
need to be set up. Like
Also,
I
real
don't know.
quick, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So there's probably like what, like a 7 year gap between them, Padme and Anakin, something like that.
I was gonna bring that up in the first movie because it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
So
Just
she's
how
like 16, because in real life she's like
gotta
17.
be close to like she's got to be like close to be like 30 years old in this movie because I think he's like a 17-year-old, isn't he?
So okay,
So he
so
was like 7 years old when fucking
he so here's how I looked at it, right? And there's probably some stat online and on
yeah,
Wikipedia that has it. I don't know this
yeah.
stat. I've read a lot of Star Wars books. I don't know this. And even if I did read it, probably got removed from the canon. But
Hmm.
in real life, Natalie Portman's like 16, 17. So I assumed the character was 16, 17 because they were playing her like she was 16, 17.
But she's supposed to be older than him.
So here's what I'm saying. They were playing her like she's 16, 17 in the first movie.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Clearly, Anakin's like 10.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there
I think
ha-
he's younger than that.
so he's 9. He's either 7 or 10.
I think
In
he's
that
like 7.
he's in that age range. I think he's like
Yeah.
10. I
I
think
think he's
there's
younger than that because I think they talk because this movie specifically takes they mentioned multiple times that this movie is 10 years later.
right.
And I think he said at one point that he's like a 17-year-old kid.
So then I thought he was like 20 and she was like 27. But this is my other question.
Yeah.
If being a queen on Naboo has term limits,
Yeah.
why would you pick a 17-year-old to be your fucking queen
Makes no sense to me.
if there's term limits on it?
Yeah.
If there is
Also,
one,
I feel
maybe there's
bad for all
not
these
one.
fucking body doubles for her because they keep getting fucking killed and
Yeah,
kidnapped
fucking
and
Keira
shit.
Knightley, man.
Yeah.
Let me look. Star Wars. How old was Anakin in Episode 1? Let's see if we can get Wikipedia on here.
See how old Padme was in episode 1.
Literally, okay, hold on. Age difference between Anakin Skywalker and Padme. I kind of can't put I can't put Padme's last name.
Yeah.
Padme in Star Wars prequel trilogy. First answer. Anakin is age 9. Padme is 14. He turns
That
10. He turns 10 during the movie, is what they
you
say.
tell me they elected a 14-year-old queen? Nah. Don't believe
So
it.
that he's 19 and she's 24, but she doesn't look like she's. She don't look 14 in that movie.
She definitely looks like she's almost a 20-year-old kid in that fucking movie.
Yeah, whatever. Fucking movies, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll suspend my disbelief because I'm talking about movies that have like magic lightsabers in it, so I'll just
Yeah.
suspend my disbelief. But still.
That's true.
So, how do you feel about the movie as a whole, though? Having watched it again as adult with adult eyes, how do you feel about Attack of the Clones? And if there's anything that stands out to you, good or bad?
Overall, I find it incredibly boring. I really didn't. I don't like it as much. I like episode 1 a lot better. And from my memory as a child, I'm definitely think I'm gonna have a fun time with episode 3 next week. I think I liked episode 3 a lot, but I don't like this movie that much. This movie only redeems itself in like the last like 30 minutes. Like as soon as the Jedi show up in the Coliseum, that's when I start to like get a little bit more into the movie. I did like the stuff with Obi-Wan. I mean, once again, like Ewan McGregor's like the best part of this fucking movie.
Oh
But
yeah.
even then, he's not even then I didn't care about him as much as I did in fucking episode 1. So I don't know. But I still liked him. I liked all his investigating stuff. I liked his stuff on Camino. I liked the Django stuff. Other than that, I don't know. I also find it really weird that like I don't know. I guess at that point it's like that these clone troopers are going to become stormtroopers, but they start playing the Evil Empire music at the very end of the movie where they have
Right.
that like sweeping shot of all the
Hmm.
stormtroopers in Coruscant, and they start playing the Evil Empire music. No, that's a little too on the nose there,
Yeah.
George.
Well, then also when you finally get to meet Sidious, it's like okay,
Yeah.
it's like okay, that's all right. We gotcha.
At that point, yeah, where Dooku meets
we
up with him and
we
he's not
gotcha.
even trying to hide it anymore. Yeah.
We gotcha. That's the best. That's the Emperor. No, I agree. I don't like this movie, and I'm a defender of the prequels. I like them as a whole.
I'm a defend. I think on the whole, I like the prequels. I think I don't like this movie because I like Episode 1, and I don't. We'll see next week, but I remember liking Episode 3 a lot. So I think this is like the outlier, but we'll see.
Yeah, and my love of Star Wars is dwarfed by my love of film. Um,
Yeah.
so I will gladly say what's bad and good. I think, in my opinion, um, but I do like them as a trilogy because I think that there's a lot of good stuff in here in themes and world building that I don't think is you don't get that a lot in the first trilogy because they just didn't have the budget for it or the time or the ability to do that. Um,
Yeah.
Execution wise, this movie I think was poorly done. It's too long. It
Yeah.
needs like 45 less minutes. It needs
Yeah.
more interesting scenes, less bullshit scenes, and I think it needs more character
Needs less.
development.
It honestly needs. I mean, I get why they have it in there because you want to develop the relationship between Anakin and Padme, but honestly, their relationship's already developed. Like at the end of the movie, she's like, "I loved you the whole time," and I was like, "Then why do we have all that pointless shit of like you
Right.
like growing close to each other?"
Yeah.
Because like you already loved him, so like what the fuck is the point? You could have
Right.
got rid of all that shit.
And
Made no
honestly,
sense.
and I mean, we'll find out December 20th when Rise of Skywalker comes out if I like which trilogy more. But I
Yeah,
think, I think I'm.
I'm still an original boy all day,
Well,
but
I mean
oh, you mean
that's that's not
between
even.
the new stuff and the
Yeah,
prequels?
that's
Yeah,
there's no question about that. I'm saying like
yeah,
between the prequel trilogy and the new one,
yeah.
man,
We'll have to see.
it's gonna be rough to see which one I pick because honestly, at this point,
I mean, I don't know. We'll see when we get to the Last Jedi, but I feel like this is. I don't see. I feel like I don't know. I mean, I feel like we'll probably save this for the Last Jedi, but I just overall feel like I don't like this. I like this movie more than the Last Jedi because at least it doesn't destroy the world building. At
right,
least this is building up the world, unlike instead of tearing it the fuck down.
right, I get that, I get
So
that.
I don't know.
Um, Final thoughts on Attack of the Clones, before we move on next week to Revenge of the Sith.
Final thoughts. If you're gonna watch this movie, skip to the last 30 minutes because you can figure out everything you need to know in the last like 30 minutes of the movie.
I say the movie is bad, but as part of a six movie trilogy, it's fine.
It's okay.
Fine is a strong. It's a weak fine. I'd say it's a weak fine.
It's a weak find.
There's it's on some ice, but yeah, there's some cool things in it. I think some cool visuals. Some things that I don't like.
Also, you know what I realized is that I remember this now when I was watching the Count Dooku fight between Anakin and them is that I don't think the choreography is as good as Episode One. I specifically remember a lot of scenes, especially when they were fighting against Dooku, where it was like there was a lot of like close-ups on faces and stuff like that. Like specifically like when they're fighting, there was like not a lot of I wasn't seeing a lot of swordplay going on, and I just felt like that kind of took me out of it too. Probably because fucking Christopher Plummer as an old man probably can't do all the shit that like Hayden Christensen can. Is like as far as like fighting with lightsabers goes, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember that kind of bumming me out.
and his lightsaber looks like a dick.
I liked the Kirk Tandle. I thought it was interesting. It was one of the more interesting things as the first animated like anime Clone Wars series was I liked his apprentice with her double curved lightsabers. I think that's an interesting lightsaber design. It definitely looks evil.
Dude, Christopher Lee is dead.
Yeah, dude. It's unfortunate.
Wait, he's dead?
You didn't know he's dead? Yeah, I'm
Dude,
pretty
he
sure he
was
died
he
like.
was he was 93. He died in 2015.
Did he?
He was 93 years old.
Huh.
Damn, dude. So how are they gonna have him in the what's it called?
I don't know.
Whatever. Never mind. This movie, it's a Star Wars movie. We'll
Yeah.
figure out next week how it stacks amongst its peers in the prequel
Yeah.
trilogy. Next week we are doing Revenge of the Sith. I'm pretty sure it's called Revenge of the Sith because Jedi's
It
don't have
is.
revenge.
That's true.
Um,
They don't. They
so
don't do that.
that's the plan, and then after that we're moving into episode
4.
4, New
Yeah.
Hope. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll have a full episode next week full of the news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you back next week with some more licensed of you guys.
See you guys.